Good morning, everyone. My name is Staci Benavides. I am the moderator for our next panel. I am currently the Director of Human Resources for Doubletree by Hilton, Abilene Downtown Convention Center, that's soon to open very soon, that we are excited about. I've got 20 plus years of HR experience in different industries. So whether it's small business, large business, I think this is a very hot topic. And we are glad that we are able to share some best practices and information today. So I'd like to start off by introducing our panel. We have, and then they're going to share a little bit about themselves. And so I'll start with Taylor. Taylor, do you mind introducing yourself and just kind of your background and experience, please?
Absolutely. My name is Taylor Sturgis. I'm a partner at Key Appraisal Group. Here based in Abilene, Texas, so we service residential appraisals here in Abilene, Midland, Odessa, San Angelo, and the Waco area. So I've had this business since 2015 and grew up in Plano, went to ACU, met my wife at ACU. You've probably heard this story a billion times. She's from Abilene, so of course we moved back to Abilene. So we have three great kids. We'll see if any of them are smart enough to be appraisers.
Cindy.
Hi, my name is Cindy Burnett. I'm the Executive Director of Workforce Training at TSTC here in Abilene. I oversee Sweetwater, Breckenridge, Brownwood, and including Abilene. I've been in Abilene for 32 years. I got here as fast as I could, so made this my home. My kids have grown up here. I've been in education for 23 years. 11 of those years has been at TSTC in workforce training. My passion is customized training for our industry and manufacturing and to create opportunities for our open enrollment for our citizens and the community in the West Texas area.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Dean. I'm Director of Business Services for Workforce Solutions of West Central Texas. We are one of the 28 workforce boards in the state under the umbrella of Texas Workforce Commission. Our 19-county region goes far as west as Westbrook, far east is Eastland, north up into Kent County and down into Brownwood and Reynolds. So it's a large geographical region. We are tasked with organizing and collaborating with businesses, industry organizations, community agencies, and economic developments to meet the range of workforce and employers. I have a 26-year career with with Taylor County Adult Probation, where I've hired and recruited and trained and managed a security team. Been with Workforce Solutions for 5 years now. I have a degree in agricultural economics from Cornell University. That is not in Abilene. But I got here as fast as I could also, and I also am on the school board of a small rural school, so I understand the needs of the challenges that we have here in this region.
So thank you all again. Hopefully this session will kind of give you some best practices and spur some ideas. But first, I kind of want to see a show of hands. How many of you, your current employees, your current staff are 100% happy and engaged and you have 0 vacancies? So we're going to go see those people because they have the magic sauce of what it takes to keep and retain their employees. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about for a little bit, just kind of some best practices on how to retain your current workforce, and then what's best practices to attract. So one of the first questions I would like to ask for Taylor is, as a partner of your organization, as the founder, what made you decide to get into, owning that, and then what are you seeing as far as your current workforce, what their needs are today?
Sure. So I got into the industry, I wouldn't say in a traditional way. I graduated from school and took my fancy finance resume in 2008 to a company called Raising Cane's that was based in the Metroplex right around where I grew up. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get a job at Raising Cane's in their corporate office because I have a finance degree. And they said, yeah, that's really great. You have no experience. And the only experience you do have is working at Chick-fil-A when you were 14 through college. So, you're in the right industry, the poultry industry, but...
Those are called transferable skills.
That's right. And so, fast forward, they said, that's great. You can go and be a shift manager for $15 an hour. You know what? You're going to be the highest paid shift manager because you have the qualifications. So I did that and worked my way kind of up through their management program on the operations side. And at one point, we had just had a child, and my wife was wanting me to not work as many nights and weekends, and which is very prevalent in that industry, as you know. And so I actually had a regular customer I saw every week. He knew I had a finance degree, was interested in real estate, and kind of said, "Hey, I'm looking to train somebody." Wink, wink. So if you know of anyone, feel free to reach out to me. So I took that opportunity, and that's how I got into the appraisal industry. If you're unfamiliar with that industry, you have about a 2-year training process to be able to get your license. And so the difficult part about that industry is that most folks don't want to train anyone because they wind up leaving and they essentially train their competition. So it is very difficult to get into. It is hard to retain those folks that you train. And so, what I've found as I've taken on trainees is you have to really invest your time in them. You have to strategically figure out what makes a great workplace. And number one, that starts with paying well, in my mind. At least in this industry, you have to invest in your people from a dollar standpoint, because in my mind, there's 2 reasons they'll stay. One is money, and one is the culture of your company. And I think you have to make sure those 2 things are tied together. You can't overlook either of them, or you're going to lose them because of one or the other. So that was kind of my entry into the industry, and it is very unique. It is a huge challenge. The average age of an appraiser in the state of Texas is 65. And so part of that is due to folks not wanting to train their competition. So we are at a very unique position in the industry, making the barrier to entry lower so we can get some of those college students and younger folks into the industry. But again, once they're in there, how do you keep them in your doors instead of wanting to go start their own is an ever ongoing challenge.
And I think just to to keep that conversation going with the culture and the experience that your workforce has at your place of employment, whether you're a small business, whether you're a global corporation, employees and the talent, people are looking for that experience. And so if you don't have the right culture, that's huge. And so you've got to be willing to invest in that. And so yes,
sure.
Thank you for that.
And I don't have 200 employees under our roof. We've had at the most 10, down to myself and one other person, and frankly, just myself. So the culture was great when it was just me. Everyone loved what was going on, and it was just me.
Team building activities were...
Right, team building, the whole gamut. So, coming from Raising Cane's, when we were opening restaurants, I hired 85 people to open one restaurant. And so keeping the culture for 85 people ranging from 16 years old to 45 years old, when I myself was 22, that was a challenge, and that was on-the-job training of understanding how to talk to a different age group, a broad age group, how to motivate, how to retain these folks that are doing jobs that maybe they don't want to be there. Maybe they've been told they have to be there, or they're forced to be there because of their economic situation. And so understanding how to have those conversations and motivate in a sense that allows them to want to keep coming back. It was a very big takeaway for me while I worked at Raising Cane's.
Thank you. And Bill, just kind of to go along those same lines about the retention piece, there are multi-generations of workers in our places of employment. How is that factoring into how a business owner or really any people leader is dealing with people, because there's different generations? How do you think that that's playing a part?
Yes, I think that culture has changed, and probably COVID can be blamed for a lot of that. Just creating, having a workplace culture. I know there's employers in the room that have multi-generations of employees, and creating that. I think it goes back to having a connection with your talent pipeline, so connecting with schools, hosting tours, having that where they have the name recognition. We've talked about this with other agencies and community partners. Identifying what your future pipeline is and cultivating that. How to keep and retain. Look at some of your incentives. We talk about pay, which is always kind of an easy answer, but it's not always possible. So there's a lot of things I think businesses can do to create a work-based environment. We have some best practices in the survey assessment tool that we recommend our business partners and community agencies utilize. It's research-based, and it goes into this thing. I know personally from our company standpoint, we've changed our job applications and how we promote within, and I think that's what you have to see is developing that pipeline and cultivating that culture.
Good, thank you. Cindy, Taylor had mentioned and talked about training the workforce. Can you just share just your experience and background and the importance of training in any organization?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing right now a lot of industry coming to us and saying, we have a lot of vacancies. We can't fill those vacancies, so we're just hiring with the minimum skill set to get them in the door. And then we'll retrain them as we go along. And then we get a phone call saying, hey, we got to reskill our employees. How do I make my employee an asset and not a liability? I see the good in this person, but what can I do? And so that's where we come in as TSCC and kind of customize your training based on your needs. Every industry is different, whether you're a CNC shop or a healthcare or a manufacturing, your line is different, your product is different, but the training is the same. An AC/DC class might look different from one company to another company. So how do we go in and customize your training and get your employees the skill set they need? A lot of things we're seeing right now, and Bill and I have worked on this, is we are seeing a need that a lot of these adult learners do not have the basic skill set like power tools, hand tools, shop math. You're hiring these people saying, you know what, we'll train them. Then you find out they can't figure out which wrench to use, which hammer to get, or a tape measure, or measurements. And so that's where Bill and I have been partnering up to find out a program that will help those adult learners to get those basic skill sets to able to say, hey, you went through this program, great, come on, we're gonna get you in and we're gonna train you a little bit better now because you've already got that skill set. And then let's go back to TSC and how do we reskill? And then as an employer, most of y'all are, if you're a small business, there are SSBs out there that we can apply for grants to retrain your employees at no cost for you guys. So there's a lot of opportunities to help you grow your team, to make your team better. That our motto here is to place more Texas in the workforce, and that's what we're here for, is for our community, is help you grow your team.
I think on that training piece too, in my mind, a lot of it comes with the interview, and that can be easily brushed over for me. And I would think a lot of small business folks are wanting to hire people, and once you finally get someone to an interview, you're thinking, all right, we got this person all the way here. Let's get them in the door and get them working. To your point, we'll train them when they get here. Let's just get somebody under our roof, and then we'll figure it out for them. I think you've got to make sure that interview process is important and detailed. You don't want to be back in that same seat in 6 months. I think that's a big part of the retention in my mind, is that you do the work on the front end in that interview and make sure that they are a good fit from a operations standpoint, from a culture fit, all those types of things. And that may mean I got to wait, 4, 5, 6 more weeks to get that right person in here. And that's a business decision, obviously, you have to make as a small business owner. But in my mind, I always think worst case scenario is this decision going to hurt me long term, or should I wait a little bit longer and see if there's a better decision down the road?
Good, thanks. And going with that attracting new talent, the interview process, right? I actually think it starts from the very beginning when you are kind of what the previous panel was talking about the marketing and the e-commerce side. You are also selling your business for people to come and work for you, right? And so that's that first experience that a potential new hire is going to see and have experience with. If they get on your website and see that it's junk and and the pictures are not visually something that they want to be a part of, they're not going to apply. So it's all kind of cyclical on that. But Bill, can you talk about more about just the technology piece and the social media piece on how to attract new talent, whether it's the younger generations all the way through? What are the resources available for attracting employees?
Social media.
Yep.
Obviously was discussed in the previous panel, getting those out. I think what you just mentioned, what your job description looks like, making sure that it's been vetted and has enough information but not too much information. Is it gonna discount or exclude maybe a large percentage of people that could be employees of yours, but you've already kind of taken them out just by the wording of your job description. So I think utilizing that, marketing, working with community partners, getting the word out. We have some resources and getting your job posting on Work in Texas and utilizing our staff at Workforce Solutions, partnering with secondary and post-secondary educators to see what's out there and identifying if you have a specific industry that you hit, and then form alliances and connections with those to increase that attention, for whether it's students or adult learners. I keep hearing all the time, they only know what they know, so if you're not out there in front of them, they don't know. And so hosting tours, utilizing community organizations, sponsoring events was mentioned earlier, getting your company name out there for those potential employees is key. And then creating that culture that understanding that child care is an issue, understanding their work-life balance is an issue, and I know you need them to work, but having that understanding that there's a lot of challenges and issues out there.
Good. And just to plug as well, not everybody has a human resources professional on their staff, but if you, again, are a business owner, managing people, you are a people manager. And so you have to be, cognizant and remember that there are specific laws that, you have to abide by. There are some different legal things that you are required if you have people on your staff that you have to go through. And there are different partners in our community across the state that can help you with job descriptions, that can help you with different policies and procedures. Who all had to change a policy or procedure during COVID because either you weren't at your workplace or because things just got crazy, right? And so there are legal requirements, the admin task of being a people manager. There's requirements for that, and there are different partner agencies that are willing to help you and to make sure that everybody is on the same page, because at the end of the day, you've got enough to worry about. Making sure that your policies and all that's up to date, that's just a task, and there are people that can help you with that. So thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. Go ahead.
I think training is another very cost and prohibitive thing to do, but you have to keep up and train your employees and recruit your new employees. We're utilizing virtual reality, in different aspects, in as far as career exploration, but also in training. And so I can't believe we're using goggles and teaching a trade without actually even using a tool. But it's creating that muscle memory, it's creating some aptitude and testing and awareness that's reaching, and that part of the upscaling and rescaling avenue. So those are all things that we've had to be creative to do.
Sure, thanks. Taylor, quick question for you. What do you think are some other best practices to help kind of with that culture piece that you've implemented or seen that everybody can kind of take away to help them out?
Sure. So the first thing I always notice, one, let's start with hiring someone. If they walk in the door and they know they're getting interviewed, are they smiling? It's the simplest thing. Is there a smile on their face? Do I know that this is a person that is not going to drag me down from the very get-go? It seems so simple because it is simple. But that is the first thing I look for, and that, in my mind, gives me a little entry to how they're going to fit into our culture. Like I said, we are a small business. I like to have a good time at the office. I don't want someone coming in and feeling like they're put in an office or a cubicle and they grind until 5 and then they leave and they never talk to anyone. So I think that's important for a generation that is my age or younger. I think for people that have been owning businesses for 50 years, they have probably seen that shift from folks that just want to come in and work and aren't as concerned about the culture to now it is much more on the forefront, and that is how you retain, or that's a piece of how you retain someone. So, going through this whole change over the last, call it 30, 40 years of what is expected at work, I could see how that could be a challenge. And so the things that we've done are really driven by what I personally liked or didn't like in previous jobs. And I think that's a simple way to look at it if you're running a business of, my previous employer, because I'm assuming most of the folks that are business owners were working for someone and decided they wanted to step away and take the leap and start their own business. And so I look back over my time for when I was working for someone and think, what would I have done differently? What are some of the needs that maybe they didn't see, but it would have made a big change in my mind? So whether that is, you're talking about someone who needs childcare or needs to come in at 8:30 and leave at 4 so they can go pick their kids up. We work from 8:30 to 4:30, and every single employee of mine has said, who has kids, has said how big of a difference that makes. They can take their kid to school, they get that time and that relationship building time with their kid just in that 15-minute drive to school. And then on the back end, they can pick them up, or they're not at daycare as long, or they can get a head start on what the night looks like. Because I know they've got about 10 baseball games they got to play that night, and they're eating dinner at Dixie that night. And so, they've got things that are going on in their lives that they also feel are important because they are important. So are you allowing them to do those things? And I feel like that time is a huge piece of it.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing, especially on the, on the employer front and how it relates to that, is that the employee needs are different. The employee expectations are different. Their priorities might have shifted to where they are intentional about needing to go to their child's game. It's a non-negotiable for them. And so as an employer, as a small business owner, can you be flexible to change a shift? Can you be flexible in what you offer as far as a benefit package, retirement, paid time off, mental health resources? You've got to kind of keep these things in mind, especially when you're dealing with, workers, great, you got them in the door, but how else can you retain them? And it all plays a part in that. So yeah.
Yeah, we hired someone who was working for one of the largest entities in town, and he said, I just needed a job that provided me more time with my family, more opportunities to see my kids, to be the coach, not just only attend the games, or to, not be worried about working at 8 o'clock when I'd want to be putting my kids down to bed. So I think that time's a big piece, and I know we've said the word culture up here a lot, and that can be very generic. What is culture? I think it's appreciating those folks that work for you and their time, but we also do, it's National Cheesecake Day, and all of a sudden we've got a cheesecake at the office, okay? It's dumb little things like that, or it's National Sunglasses Day, and we've got a calendar. Our office manager has one thing each month that is cost effective for us to do that keeps everybody on their toes and just kind of breaks up the monotony of 50 work weeks a year, and brings a little something different to the table, to where they don't feel like they're just churning and burning every day.
Again, the experience. Cindy, can you share what kind of new innovative technology platforms or just new things that have come up in the training space that, especially small business can take advantage of?
Well, I know one of the hot topics that I've been working on is Power BI. Some of the companies, I had never heard of it, and then all of a sudden I have 3 companies asking for it, and so it's a software that takes all your spreadsheets and plugs in all the numbers, and so we have just developed that as for some of the companies. But as far as technology, we're always changing. I mean, as the product line changes for industry, we gotta stay ahead in front of that, and that's what TST does, is make sure if it's from water operations, what does that look like? What kind of technology is new to figure out how do we deliver and how do we customize that? There's just a lot of, things change, whether it's technology or the equipment, the software, and that's how we just make sure that our chancellor does a great job in keeping us, and we have a team that does a great job in saying, hey, this is coming down the pipeline, what can you do? And I always say, we never say no to training, we just say, let's see how we can help you. We'll find a way. TSCC is, we say we're mobile in instructors and equipment because we do have 10 locations statewide. And if we don't have that need, if we have that need and we don't have the equipment, or we have the equipment and don't have the instructor, then we partner with people like TMAC over here in there's what they deliver, and figure out how we can bring them to the table and help the businesses themselves.
Bill, so we talked about training for, probably those hard skills, right? But can you just talk about the importance of soft skills and trainings and what you're seeing from employers of, what that looks like?
Every day, talking to our business partners, and and I don't know if I don't want to sound generational and be that old guy, but just teaching our students and having interaction with young adult learners that, handshake, look them in the eye, be on time, being a problem solver, and those are some of the things that are hard to interview for and hard to actually teach. My wife is a teacher, and every day she's like, these kids just don't have any common sense, and I hear it everywhere. This is just common sense. But again, making those connections and seeing, but I think it comes down to making those connections, getting out in the community, being part of your Rotary clubs, being part of your community organizations, and having, going to the school or hosting a tour and saying, I want you to meet these people, I want to introduce you, and create some of those things. But I think that group of employers that we meet with on a regular basis says, if you could just make this part of your curriculum or teach this in schools. And so we utilize a thing called WOW, World of Work. It is here. It's going to be in September this year. It's somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 students. It's career awareness. But we have booths that they practice mock interviews. And we have some kids come that are fully prepared for that and have their resume and are just knocking it out of the park. But it's an awareness piece where they can come and see how that's done in practice. And I would suggest that'd be a great tool for an employer, make connections with your secondary and post-secondary partners, and host a mock interview day or if you can host an intern and have an interview process so they can go through that.
Cindy, did you?
Yeah, I was just going to elaborate on some of our students that are coming out. We say they're tech savvy. The phone is the popular thing in their hands, and I know everybody's shaking their head like, oh, you're going to hit a good topic there. So what we're hearing is, yes, the people that we're hiring love their phone. They're not tech savvy. They're social media savvy. They don't know how to do an attachment. They don't know how to do an email. And so we've been tasked, that's been brought up to my attention. Cindy, how can we do that? Well, we can do some Microsoft classes. We can do a spreadsheet. Because what we're learning is they don't know Microsoft. They don't know Google Suite. And so those are things when you sit down in the interview and you're thinking, gosh, this person is a really great person. They've got some skill set. And they sit there and then you interview them and they're like, yeah, I know computer skills. Yeah, I got that down. You're like, you know what? I'm going to hire this person. 2 months down the road, they don't know how to do an attachment. They don't know where to go to put in their day off. And so those are some of the challenges that we're hearing from businesses, whether you're small or large. It is a nationwide that it's a need. And so that's another need that TSCC looks at and like, okay, how can we help? And those are a good hard topic.
And I'm going to kind of go back to, when the person is a job seeker is looking for employment, right? Their first interaction with your company, if you have online application, that is their first experience. And if that platform is not mobile friendly, if there's too many things to click, they're just going to cancel and move right on. So just be thinking about how that process is for your work, for your company, because you want to make it as easy as possible for them to apply, to get onboarded, to do their banking information, their tax information, all those things that you need on the admin side, but it starts with the technology piece as well. So, do you guys have anything else to add again, the recruitment and retention piece for employees, we could be here multiple days to talk about this, but again, just a little snippet of some best practices that these experts have seen in the industry. Otherwise, we can open it up for questions if you have any specific things you would like to ask the panel. Yes, sir.
We're having exponentially more difficult problems in the last 3 years obtaining employees. By the way, I love the Power BI thing. That's good. But the soft skills piece of it is, I don't even know how to address. Employees are coming more as consumers. Potential employees come as a consumer. Whether or not they're qualified or not, they come acting as if they're qualified and being treated as a consumer. But after we hire someone, if I were in industry, if I were creating something, you would create a special training for me to show them how to build it. You'd probably give me a great deal on a building. I say you, the world in general. You'd probably give me a loan to do it and all that. But if I'm a service industry, finding that same level of help is difficult. So, Cindy, I'm really interested in TSTC and soft skills. And I don't mean just Excel and that kind of thing.
You're talking about leadership skills.
Can you teach someone how to be professional, dress, show up on time, or do you already have anything like that we could come to?
So we have a couple options. As far as doing something in-house, we can do something called, some leadership skills, customer service to customer service, teamwork, building, conflict resolutions. We can do those kind of things in-house. We just did a all-campus tour leadership class for a whole week for Breckenridge, and we're going to do one in Sweetwater. It was a big topic for some of the city employees because that was a need. How to work together, how to be a team, how to be customer service to customer service. And we see that too, like we were still at the computer or we're at the, we don't look up and say, hey, welcome, how can we help you? We need that back. And so, yeah, we can help that. But far as on the credit side, we have a wonderful department, Career Services, which Aaron is here today. When our graduates are getting ready to graduate, they go through resume writing. They go through interview practicums. They teach them how to present themselves, how to dress. And so we do that in-house for our credit students. And so that way they're our product, they're our brand. So when you hire them, we want to make sure that you're getting the best brand. But yes, we can talk.
We also utilize that with our workforce center. As a customer comes in, that's part of that resume building. What's that front facing look like? Are you dressing professionally? Going through the handshake and so those are some things that we do to our customer base of job seekers. I also have career education outreach specialists in classrooms talking about that and identifying. I think you're seeing some more classes in leadership and problem solving, so to speak, but identifying those. I know I've talked a lot about education, but we're not just taking a test. Trying to create those students that can be part of a team and problem solve, and it is a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Your programs are all after high school, is that correct?
Yes, we're doing adult learners, but we have we partner up with the GED, the students that are getting their GED to get them reskilled too, because they're coming back and saying, you know what, I need a job and I want to get back I need to get in the workforce, and I don't want to. The kids that are growing up in the high school, I take it like this. They didn't sit there in 5th grade and 6th grade and go, I can't wait to work at 7-Eleven. And so life happens for some of these students and they get lost in the school system. And I'm sorry to say, if there's any school, but they do, they get kind of lost. Can't go to 4-year, don't want to go to 2-year. Okay, well, come to the workforce side. How can you get a short-term certification, whether it's a phlebotomy or a PCT or even a CDL? How can we get you in and out and get into the workforce? And then, if you're sitting in our classes, the credit side should be saying, hey, do you know you're taking a phlebotomy class? How can we get you into our nursing program? Because sometimes it just takes a little snippet of education to feel good about, because they're scared. They're absolutely scared because whatever happened in high school or where their education, that they feel that that this is it, this is life for me. But how can we change that? And that's where we go to work, yes.
What I've seen with my kids, they graduated a few years ago, but there's no introduction to business class taught in high school. There's no shop class anymore. We used to have career day where they would introduce all these things in high school, but yet they still the school still starts putting the pressure on them to, what's your 4-year plan in the 9th grade?
Exactly, and that, not take away from 4-year colleges. They're great because we all, that's where we want. But sometimes, not even at TSCC, that they want to come to a 2-year. They look at that and like, oh my God, they don't have that time, that patience, that mindset. I got to do this for 18 months. Maybe I already got kids and I got to do a family support, and so now I'm going to work at 7-Eleven or at Walmart, or I'm going to do auto detail, but I know I want to do better, but how? And I think that's where workforce training and continue ed at our TSCC, and then partnering up with our local workforce board. What needs do they see that we can help fill in? Whether it's TSCC or Cisco College or whatever college that we can partner up and help our community, we need to be a resource for our local workforce board. And not like everybody comes to one college and say, because you have this, we got to work together for our community, and to help put those people in the right positions, and to help our industry, our manufacturing, it just comes down to it. We got to team up.
And I think it's important to remember that training, learning, and development is going to look different for every industry, every business, right? And so you've got to have that flexibility in customizing whatever works for you, but with the understanding that that's a need of your workforce. So there are many partners that you could go down to get those soft skills, to get the training, whether it's through TSTC or online. There's various different ways now, but learning and development and training is important, and it's a need. So
I think there's a responsibility from the business owner side as well.
Yeah.
If Jessica's interviewing someone at Vagabond and I'm interviewing someone at my office, there's probably different expectations from attire all the way up as high as you want to go. So what I've seen and things that have really stuck with me when I've been interviewed is the direct feedback that I get. If this person comes in to my office and is in shorts and a torn up t-shirt, I've got to be able to give that direct feedback as to what our expectation is and why I don't think that they're going to be moving on to the next round of interviews. And that's a very, very difficult conversation. And you have to tread those waters lightly. But the times where I've been given that direct feedback when it's at a job and from my boss are the things that have stuck with me to move forward in my career. And so I think as the business owner, you have to be very conscious of that. And if you want to see the type of folks coming in change and to have some of these skills or some of this knowledge, you have to give them that feedback, because I think we can get in a cycle of this generation doesn't understand how to do X, Y, and Z. But if we're not going to tell them why those things are important and why they need those things in their toolbox, then we're going to keep beating our heads up against the wall.
And then I think it's also important to remember that you've got to give yourself a little bit of grace as a business owner, right? You got into your role, into your jobs. You're doing what you're doing because it's something that you love and you have a passion for. And so you want to convey that passion when you are trying to hire people, right? When you're trying to retain them. You want them to have that same passion for you, because otherwise they're not going to be productive. They're not going to be engaged. And so just keep that in, just take those experiences that you have learned in your previous life and what you're currently walking through now, and find that in the people that you're trying to work for you and retain them. So, any other questions? Anything else? Yes, sir.
Would you give us 60 seconds on Doubletree and what you're wanting, what the people you need, and in what time frame, we need to help you make that happen?
This summer, come and see us. I mean, it's a great opportunity. I think, I've come from small business. I've come from corporate. Just being in Abilene and to feel the excitement in downtown Abilene in our community about what is going on across the street is exciting. And it's just, it's a good time to be in Abilene, I think. So that is what I will say. Yes, ma'am.
So similar to the soft skills that you asked about, and then Cindy, you mentioned about everybody wanting to use their phone. Customer service is huge and very much needed. So and their service industries are everywhere. You have to know how to communicate with people. You have to have good people skills. So how are you all working with maybe schools to teach the foreign language of customer service? Everybody.
Well, I would love to partner with all the school districts, but they have their own curriculum and so we don't get them until after they're graduated. So unless they're with, they go back and get their GED, that's the only partnership we have. But Bill, I'll let you.
Yes, we've developed a program where we have advisors embedded in schools and talking about career awareness and jobs and different avenues, but also a key piece of that is those soft skills and having, there's some activities they do and they train as far as team building and communication skills and customer service. I mentioned the virtual reality. It has a hospitality piece that we can have students put the goggles on and see what good interaction is. And again, it's not the secret sauce, but it's awareness and training and giving them those skills.
And in our training, we have the philosophy: explain, show, do, and review. So if I need someone to call a realtor to set up a time to go look at a house, explain how to do it. I then show them how to do it. They do it, and then we review it. I think I got that right. Yeah, it checks out. Okay, so that is a great time for feedback. That when you allow those folks to do that, whatever that task is in your business, giving them that direct feedback and that customer service piece, the simplest thing of talking to someone on the phone, how to say hello, how to greet someone that you aren't comfortable talking to or don't know. I don't let that slide. I don't think, man, this is a tough conversation. I'm going to just push this down. They'll probably hear me do it again and pick it up. This person is already on my team, so I need to start molding them now. Don't push it down the road. Don't think I'll get to it. They're going to start building those patterns in how they speak to people and how they act from day one. So set that expectation early and then hold them to that expectation. Because if you don't, they will revert back to whatever is the least confrontational. And I truly believe they're going to do what's the most comfortable for them. So make doing the job the right way the most comfortable for them.
Good. Thank you, everybody. Our time is up today. I want to thank our panel and their wonderful expertise. And we hope that you just take, one nugget away today about this topic, and just remember that, being here and being able to share and network and sharing best practice is very important. So again, thank you for your time.